Hi friends, it's Laurie. Let's go make something. I'm starting my Valentine wreath today by using one of the 14-inch wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. For the body of my wreath, I'm using 3 of the Dollar Tree table runners. I'm using 2 red and 1 white. You'll need some chenille stems, and I'm trying to match the color of the table runners, so I'm using 12 red and 6 of the silver. I'm adding chenille stems around the frame evenly, so I'm starting on the outside, and because I'm adding my red runner first, I'm folding my red stem in half, and I'm attaching it to the 2 outer wires. When adding my second stem, I'm not measuring it, I'm just kind of eyeballing it because I know I need to add 2 per section. Now that my first 2 are attached and I have my basic spacing, I'm now moving around the outside of the form and I'm going to attach 10 more. The chenille stems are going to be holding your ruffles, and some people like to add 6 and 6 or 8 and 10. I'm using the 6 and 12. It was just really easy to space them around my wreath form, but you can add as many as you would like, and it's definitely personal preference. With my 12 red stems attached, I'm now adding my 6 silver by attaching them on the 2 middle wires and centering them between the 2 red stems on the outer wires. Once you're done, you'll have your 12 red stems attached on the 2 outside wires and your 6 silver stems attached on the 2 inside wires. I was just checking each of them and making sure they were secure and tight, and I noticed some of them were moving, and for some reason every time I make this type of wreath, my stems just never stay where I put them. Fixing this problem is super easy. All I'm going to do is flip my form over, and I'm placing a dot of hot glue on the bottom of each of the stems twist. I make sure each stem is exactly where I want it, and then I just add my hot glue. Once I finished, I flipped the wreath back over, and then I just opened up all the stems. I'm using my red table runners first, and both of the ends are sewn into points. I want the fabric to be a uniform size, so I'm going to fold over the end, and then I'm going to grab and bunch up about 4 or 5 inches. I then tuck the fabric under the support next to one of my chenille stems. Once it's in place, I'm still keeping the 2 ends of the fabric on the bottom, and I'm securing it together with my chenille stem. To add on my ruffles, I'm making sure that both ends of the fabric stay on the bottom, and then I'm holding the rest of the fabric loosely in my hand. I'm using my mat for my 8-inch measurements, and I'm going to measure the first piece of fabric. I'm going to gather it up, and then I'm going to attach it to the next chenille stem. Once it was in place, I then just kind of like pulled at the fabric a little bit to give it that full look. After my first ruffle was attached, I continued measuring 8 inches of fabric and then added the pieces onto the outer chenille stems on the form. As you continue to gather and add your fabric, always make sure that the 2 side pieces are ending up together on the bottom. By doing this, it definitely helps the fabric keep that kind of poofy, ruffled shape. If you're using 8-inch pieces of fabric, like I am, there won't be enough fabric in the runner. So when you come to the end, you're going to have a little tail left of fabric. All you need to do is tuck the tail under the 2 wires. To add the second runner, I gathered the pointy end once again, making sure that the two sides were on the bottom, and I tucked that little tail end between the wires under my last ruffle. While holding the tail in place, I attached my fabric to the last ruffle by using its chenille stems. I hope that's not too confusing. Basically, all you're doing is finding a way to attach the next runner so you can continue on and finish the outer part of the wreath. Once you've gone full circle and you're coming to the end, you're going to measure about 14 more inches of fabric and then cut off the excess. You'll make your last red ruffle by using the two chenille stems where you first began adding fabric, and all you're going to do is make another ruffle and then tuck the excess tail of fabric between the two wires. When I was done, I went around and fluffed up all my ruffles. I'm making my Valentine wreath today as part of a collab with my sweet friend Nadia from DIY with Nadia. She has an amazing channel with so many beautiful DIY crafts, and she also shares some awesome hauls. I'm going to link her channel below in my description, so please go over and say hello. To add the white runner, I'm following the exact same instructions. I'm folding over the pointed end and placing it between the two center wires. I'm then using my chenille stems to attach it in place. I'm then measuring my fabric, and it looks a little weird because of the angle. The measurement's actually underneath the wreath, but once again, I'm just measuring it and I'm attaching it to my next set of chenille stems. This works up so much quicker because there are only 6 sets of chenille stems, and all I'm doing is continuing to measure the runner and then attaching it around the center of the form. When you're coming to the end of your white runner, you'll measure your last ruffle, and you should end up having a short piece of fabric left over. All you need to do is to tuck the tail between the two inner wires. After that, I went around and I poofed up my white fabric. With the body of our wreath complete, we're now going to start adding on some accents. I'm using 6-inch white and 6-inch red tulle from the Dollar Tree. I'm also using a 6-inch striped mesh. This came from Michael's because my Dollar Tree was completely out of mesh. I'm cutting 12 pieces of tulle in 6-inch lengths, and to make it a little easier, I like to cut a piece of cardboard in the length I want. I wrap my tulle around it and then cut it free. I did the same for my red tulle. I cut 12 pieces in 6-inch lengths. For my mesh, I'm cutting 12 pieces, but this time at 8 inches each in length. With all my pieces cut, I'm now using 12 half chenille stems to attach them together. Mesh and tulle are not the best of friends, so I'm using a clip to keep them separate until I put them together. I'm taking a piece of white tulle, I'm scrunching it in the middle, and then I'm doing the same with the red. And then I'm going to use my clip to hold them together. With that complete, I'm now rolling one of my 8-inch pieces of deco mesh into a curl. To finish up, I'm adding them together and securing them into place with my chenille stem. When you're done, you'll have 12 sets. The chenille stems that were standing up from attaching the runner, I just folded them over and tucked them under the wreath. My camera decided not to film that part. Adding the curl is super easy. I'm placing it over the chenille stem where I had attached the ruffle. I'm flipping it over and then I'm just securing it tightly onto the back. After that, I'm continuing on And when I'm finished, there'll be a curl in between each of my red ruffles. With all the curls added, I'm going to give the wreath some sparkle using these small Dollar Tree Valentine hearts. Using my hot glue gun, I'm gluing one in the center of each of my curls. If you don't have these hearts on hand, you can always use something different, even place in a flower, or you can always just leave it plain. Now that these are all in place, we're going to add on some ribbon accents. I'm using 3 ribbons from the Dollar Tree and the other 2 are from Michael's. My Dollar Tree had nothing good for ribbons this year, but the best part is you can use anything that you have on hand. I'm measuring each ribbon at 9 inches and I'm cutting 6 from each roll. I'm using one 2-inch and one 1.5-inch wired ribbon. My additional one 1.5-inch ribbon and my 2 5/8-inch ribbon are not wired. With all our ribbons cut, we're going to dovetail the ends and turn them into ribbon bunches. Dovetailing the ribbon is super easy. All you need to do is fold the ribbon in half and cut away at an angle on both ends. I've dovetailed all the ends and I'm going to use 6 half chenille stems to attach the bunches together. I have my ribbons laid out in the order in which I want them, and all I'm going to do now is layer one on top of the other. Once I have them stacked, I fold them in half to find my center point and then attach them together with my chenille stem. Then just follow the same instructions till you have all 6 bunches. I'm adding one bunch of ribbon in between each of my white ruffles. I'm placing it over the original chenille stem that I used to attach my ruffle, and then flipping it over and securing it into place. The focal point for my Valentine's wreath is this pretty red sparkly Dollar Tree heart. After I gently remove the tags, I'm attaching these 2 chenille stems on the back of the heart with my glue gun. I folded the stems in half and I glued them to the top of my heart, and I made sure to hold them in place until the glue had dried. I centered my heart in the middle of the wreath, turned it over, and attached the stems to the wire. I then went around and fluffed up all my ribbons. To finish off my Valentine's Day heart wreath, I'm adding 6 more of the Dollar Tree red hearts. Using my glue gun, I'm once again attaching these in the center of each of my ribbon bunches. Once you're done, your wreath is then ready to hang. Thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. I hope you had fun making this Valentine's wreath. If you're new and you haven't yet subscribed and you think, hey, I'd like to come back and hang out with her again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.